we're here at Orange at the moment. We've had a big day on the bikes. We've thrown a lot at them today. We've waded them across a river. We've had dirt roads. We've had four-wheel drive tracks. We've had goat tracks. We've had mud. We've had bull dust. We've had everything today. So
Beaches, apocalypse. You
yeah,
name it.
the whole lot, and a horrendous case of sunburn.
How long did it take us to cross that river?
It took us about
an hour.
Best part of an hour to cross that river. By the time we carried all the luggage across, then got the bikes across.
Yep.
So that was seriously hard work. But we thought we'd take this opportunity to bring you up to speed on some of the changes we've made to the bikes. So one of the first things we did was the Motos Tractionator tyres. They're a relatively new tyre on the market. We have similar but slightly different opinions on them. Look, you
are used to a lot more front end feel than I am on bikes, so it probably affects you more than me. But I really love the rear. The front though, it's just too heavy for what I like. It was 3 kilos more than the stock one, and you really feel it. Off road though, I will say I do like it. It grips. It does what it's meant to do.
Yeah, see, I don't love it off-road either. So the rear tyre, I love the rear tyre. The rear tyre is great, especially on the tarmac. It grips as good as any sports touring tyre out there, you know. So for a knobby, it's a really good tyre.
And actually, as an all-rounder, I've actually done a fair bit of kicking around on it this week in lots of rain conditions on the road, on tarmac, on B roads. And I've loved it in the rain as well.
Yeah, look, I like the rear. I don't like the front tyre at all, and I don't like it on the dirt either. So for me, I'll probably end up with a combination of a Tractionator rear and something else on the front, a Pirelli Scorpion or something like that.
Sad thing is I don't think my front's going to wear out anytime soon.
No, they seem to last a long time, these tyres. So anyway.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that we've done to the bikes, the first trip that we did away was our Captain Thunderbolt story. And my bike in particular had some pretty nasty suspension issues going on. I was carrying more gear than Stephen, so I had all the camera gear on my bike and a computer and my tummy. So my bike was probably carrying an extra 30 kilos approximately on top of what your bike had.
Yeah, probably about fair. The weaving on that last trip scared me though.
It scared me. My bike had a really nasty weave that you'd get at high speed, and if you pulled out to overtake somebody, as soon as you cross that centre line on the road and cross the crown of the road, it'd start to weave really badly, and it took a lot to get it under control again a few times. And
reminded me of a rocking horse actually, kind of.
Yeah, well, it was doing the sideways thing, and it worried me a couple of times. So when we finished that trip, we always knew that the suspension wasn't going to be great straight out of the box. The bikes aren't built for blokes our size, let alone by the time you throw luggage on them. They're built for someone who weighs about 75 kilos. So this isn't a criticism of Honda. They've built the bike to suit what it suits. We always knew we'd have to play with the suspension to get it right. So so that's what we've done. So we took the bikes to Technic Motorsport at Penrith. Took them to Nick at Technic Motorsport, and so he's basically added some spaces in the front. There's not a lot of preload on the front on the standard bike. Even when you wind the preload right up, it doesn't really do much. So Nick adds some spaces. We've left the original springs in the front, but the front end's been totally revalved. And the rear has got new springs in both bikes, and also revalved
as well.
Revalved, and the difference is remarkable. What we've done with them today.
Considering that the rear carries so much of that weight, I reckon. It's hard to say which end has been the biggest improvement because it was done at the same time, but I reckon that rear with that rated spring has made a world of difference, especially going over jumps.
Yeah, exactly. We did everything to them today. Mine's loaded up again, almost as heavy as it was for the previous trip. It's probably only 5 or 6 kilos lighter, I think, because I have brought less gear.
And how much preload are you running at the moment?
Rear preload is set to about half. Whereas previously it was on full and it still wasn't coping. So
there's a lot left in it then.
There's a lot left in there. There's so the bike, and we were jumping them today. We launched them off a couple of times. So, and they handled everything. We did worse roads today than what we did originally, and they handled it really well. So really, really impressed with the suspension. It's been remarkable with the change. They're like brand new bikes. They're like totally different bikes.
The other thing I'd probably say I'm really stoked with is the bash plate from Beaumont. We went through a lot of narrow parts in that river crossing, and it didn't get hung up anywhere. It was fairly tight fitting, and I know we've bottomed out quite a few times on some of the more technical stuff. And I'm loving it. I'll tell you what, we were umming and ahhing about whether we needed the bash plates, because a few people that do a lot of riding, we know opt not to have them. I'm glad we made the call.
I am too. I remember that the road from Palmer's Oakey around to Sofala. and just listening to some of the rocks pounding into that bash plate.
Yep.
The noise was deafening. It was they were big rocks. Those tractionators throw up some big chunky rocks, and they were sharp rocks.
Yep.
And I'd hate to think if one of them went through the engine case. But
I will say they were happy none of them got into the bash plate yet, touch wood. Cause,
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
They'd be hard to get out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And weirdly, I haven't got to test my crash bars yet, but you've opted to go without them at the moment. And despite having a spill where you went over vertical, didn't get any damage to the bike.
Didn't get any damage to the bike. Yeah, we met a four-wheel drive on a particularly narrow bit of goat track, and we were coming uphill and he was coming down. It was quite steep and very rocky and really rutted and cut away, and he decided he wanted the tiny little bit of road that I'd allocated for myself. So came to a standstill and went to put the foot down, and there was a big hole there, and by the time my foot hit the ground, the bike was too far over, and down she went. But yeah, I was cursing at the time because we bought the crash bars.
Yeah.
And you fitted yours, the Outback Motortech crash bars, you fitted yours.
Yep.
I decided I didn't like them, so I sold them, and I haven't actually put any other ones on yet.
Yep.
So before we started this trip, I said, I'm sure I'm going to drop it because I haven't got the crash bars on.
No.
So sure enough, I dropped it. And the impact was basically taken by the Boomot luggage. It's held up really well. It's taken a good, it was a good hit. It fell hard and it fell straight onto rocks. Yep. So it was a good whack, but the luggage has got a little bit of a dent in there and a little bit of a mark.
Character.
It's come through it with flying colours, and the Barkbusters took the brunt at the front end. So the tank and the rest of the bike, nothing touched the ground, so there's no damage to the bike at all. So.
And I will say on that, I mean, again, we've talked about the two different trains of thought with handguards, and I've certainly had my own experience with what not to do when you're getting hung up and snapping bones.
Yeah.
But the sort of riding we're doing on these now, I wouldn't go without having that protection, because how annoying it would be to snap levers and just bugger it all up in the middle of nowhere.
And especially where we were, there's no shade, it was stinking hot, it was to be stuck on the side of that track having to pull all your gear out and change levers over and do all that stuff. I mean, we just picked the bike up, it started straight away, and off we went. So there was no drama, but yeah, good result.
Too right.